Thank you so much, Hunter. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. And thank you for joining this discussion on building inclusive tech communities, strategies for success. I'm Karen Penn, Head of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Elasticares at Elastic, the search analytics company. And I am based out of metropolitan Washington, D.C. And I've been with Elastic about 5 years. I am joined by fellow elasticians, Courtney, CJ Wilburn, and Jaspreet Jazz Panache. I will let them briefly introduce themselves now. CJ?
Hi, my name is Courtney. I also go by CJ. I am the Senior Manager of Engineering Productivity at Elastic, and I've been at Elastic for a little over 3.5 years, and I'm currently based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the US.
Thanks, CJ. Jazz, over to you.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're having an excellent day. My name is Jess. I am a Senior Engineering Manager for the Site Reliability Engineering teams that we have at Elastic. I've been at Elastic for nearly 3 years now. And if you can't tell by my accent, I'm based out of London, England.
Thanks, Jazz. As you heard from both CJ and Jazz, we're globally distributed, and at Elastic, we are committed to advancing our source code by providing the connective thread for elasticians to enable them to achieve their fullest potential by amplifying differences through a fair, equitable, impartial, and inclusive lens. And while we, like many other companies, have representation goals, affinity and ally-based ERGs, unconscious bias training, pay equity analyses, etc., we have many other resources initiatives to help us along our DEI journey. It is the people of the company, whether individual contributor, manager, or leader, and their behaviors that shape the culture and mature the company on our never-ending journey. And I know the distinct perspectives of CJ and Jazz, shaped by their lived experiences, both professionally and personally, will be interesting and meaningful. So let's jump in and get started. First question. Company culture can either facilitate or hinder internal mobility for employees. How has company culture impacted your career development? And CJ, if I can start with you.
Hi, thanks. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Company culture can absolutely facilitate, or hinder your internal mobility. I think one of the things that I immediately call to mind as I think about, instances where, the pressure to participate in extracurricular activities, at a co-located workplace can sometimes, you feel as though you may have to participate in activities that you find less desirable or, sort of go beyond, well beyond sort of reasonable hours for you in order to participate in some of those activities and how, the feeling is though, and sometimes seeing the actual repercussions of that sort of play out, and the folks that do seem more willing to participate in some of those activities seem to have either career advancement or make additional contacts that become mission critical to their jobs. And one of the things that I really enjoy about working at Elastic is that we're distributed first. And that plays out in that, there doesn't seem to be, there isn't any pressure to participate in the sort of extracurricular activities that would potentially, cause negative career effects if you didn't participate in them. Activities that get planned for people to participate in are distributed in nature and come first with, recording things, recording meetings, making sure that we have a bit of an extended period of time to come to decision points on critical matters so that folks around the globe can have an opportunity to speak their mind and weigh in. And those are the things that I really appreciate. I feel as though I'm on a little bit more of an even, playing field when it comes to opportunities for me to participate in making decisions, and especially business critical ones.
Great, thanks, CJ. Jazz, how about you? How has company culture impacted your career development?
I think I got quite lucky that some of the company cultures that I have been a part of have impacted my career development positively. Quite early into my career, I have a varied background, but one of which is in video games and entertainment. And part of the company culture there was the player experience first. And here at Elastic as well, we're always putting the customer voice first. And it's so important to consider the customer voice because it enables you to have a deeper understanding of the cultural differences between societies, the impact they have, and the usage of it. Even a simple thing like being able to message between your colleagues, being able to message between your customers, and that type of communication, even the compliance in which you communicate is so important to shaping, the interactions you have, how you present yourself, and really understanding the person on the other side, irrespective of where they are or who they are. And I think when that's integral to the country, to the company culture, it's naturally going to elevate your career. And in my case, at least, it enabled me to have a lot more opportunities to move into other roles that could be close to the customer or close to the product. In my case, I chose to stay within engineering, and it enables me to sort of have an edge on understanding, who my customers are and what sort of products they want. So ultimately, I have a much richer and a much richer and just a stronger solution at the end of the day because of being able to represent all of these different backgrounds and the cultural differences and similarities that we have. And this really plays in a lot to one of the reasons why I was attracted to Elastic, because a core tenet of our company culture is come as you are. And I really love that because it's so important for us to lean into our strengths of what make us individual, as well as what makes our culture so brilliant and so unique. And I think that's so important that if you're coming as you are, you're also leaning into your strength, and therefore that's going to enable you to be successful so that you can continue to have internal mobility.
Thank you both so much. I appreciate the different perspectives, but what I heard consistent throughout was the weaving in of the Elastic source code. And Courtney, while you may not have called it out, you spoke of it with our distributed first, and Jazz certainly with the as you are and customer first. And as you are, just for those folks that aren't familiar from our source code, it's that we come in all different shapes with different interests and skills. We all have an accent. Celebrate it. Just come as you are. No need to invent neurons trying to fit an arbitrary mold. We'd rather you put them to work shaping Elastic. So appreciate you both weaving that in, and I'm glad to hear the impact, positive impact it's had on your career development. Jazz, if I can stick with you, how do you understand and leverage different strengths on your team to ensure that everyone is innovating at Elastic?
Thanks, Karen. This is one of my favorite questions to get asked, because I think it's really what probably differentiates me from some other folks that I work with, because I truly love leveraging different strengths, and I think that that's sort of like the secret magic. That if you could distill that and sort of share it around and get better success from those around you and yourself, it would be this. And the ways that I try and go about it is I am truly listening to the people around me, and it's so important to listen to people in three different ways. It's not just what they say, but you should also look at and listen to why they're saying it, but also why was this meaningful to them. And it's that last one of why was this meaningful to them that you truly begin to understand where their cultural background is coming from or where their perspective is coming from. And that's when you're really listening to someone, because let's be real, we're all human. Sometimes we don't come across as clearly as we can. So taking the time to truly understand and hear somebody is so important. And I think that's really important as well to ask this of people. So I manage teams, and in my teams, when I have individuals who are saying to me, Jess, I don't know where my next step is. I don't know how I'm going to be moving forward. What does success look like for me? I often start with, let's have a reflected best self exercise where you take a moment and think about what are the top 3 things you want to be known by. If you sit there and take a moment to actually consider what 3 words would you want to be known by, that's quite a powerful question. And it's really interesting when you apply that to a 360 feedback sort of approach, where you go around to people in your lives. This could be your partners, this could be people you work with, people you play sports with, people you just know or go down to the pub with, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, and ask them, what 3 words do you know me by, or do you associate me by? And that's so interesting and so powerful, because you get a much better understanding of what your strengths are. And in fact, I won't be surprised if people around you come back and say that your three strengths are probably different to the ones that you have. And it's so nice to be able to understand how you're appreciated and how you're perceived by those around you. And it, as a manager, as a team player, it's really good to be able to do that, because then you can decide when you're willing to take a risk on somebody. You've got a better understanding of knowing when they're drowning, perhaps when they slightly need help. And I think it's so important as well that as you're doing this, you're trying to encourage genuine connection, so that they've got a safe space, so that if they're going to fail, they're going to fail brilliantly. And you're all going to learn from it, and you're all going to be stronger for it. So I gave you a little mixture of answers, but I'm just so passionate about this topic. It's so important to leverage these strengths.
That comes through. Thanks so much, Jazz. CJ, same question to you. How do you understand and leverage different strengths on your team to ensure everyone is innovating at Elastic?
Sure. So one of the first things that I can think of, one of the things that I do is when I'm like, especially when new folks are being onboarded to a team that I'm leading, and the first thing that I do before I start more deeply engaging in a one-on-one experience with them is I ask them how best they give and receive information. So, for some people, we have to think about the fact that this is a global culture, right? And, people's, I'm talking in English to folks whose language, English may be their second, third, or fourth language. And there also may be, folks who generally, may not, it may take them a bit longer to digest information if I'm speaking to them versus if something is being written down. And so I take the time to ask them, hey, what is the best way you give and receive information? What's the best way that you give and receive? What are the best ways that you give and receive feedback? And some of those vary, right? And so what I do is I try to, especially when I'm engaging in them with one-on-ones, is I try to make sure that I am very much aware of how they best receive feedback and how they best, are equipped to give feedback. And so that can inform everything from, if I have to deliver difficult feedback to how I'm going to be giving them that feedback, and everything, even when they're working with peers, to give reminders and say that, like, some people may need you to discuss a set of changes that they're implementing in full and go over it at a higher level before they dig into the details. And some people may want to every detail that you can get, they may enjoy that instead first, in order to gain an understanding of what they're, how they're going to engage with their work. And so that is I think it helps strengthen the relationships between peers when they have a better understanding of how to communicate best with each other. And I think it makes me a more effective manager, and sort of understanding that these people can internalize something and it will resonate a little bit more deeply if I, customize and tailor how I'm delivering that information with that in mind.
Thank you both. I really appreciate the common thread through each of your responses. And what I took away was then for us to have genuine connections with our team members and our colleagues, we need to, again, live our source code and understand that we are 3,000 elasticians, 100 plus nationalities in 40 plus countries, and folks that, while English is a predominant language in business, may have it this be their second, third, or even fourth or more language. And it reminds me of our tenet within our DEI philosophy to respect the pause and explain and understand that there's so much neurodiversity represented. Folks have different, disc style. They like to receive or give information differently. They may need more time to process information to respond than someone else on the team. And it's really important to, what I hear is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. And it's really that seeking out that enables you to leverage the best outcomes in innovation. And like Jazz said, it's magic. So love that. If CJ, I can stick with you. Next question. What does a great workplace ally or advocate look like for you?
Sure. For me, I think the most important quality of an ally or an advocate is that, they don't necessarily have to have you know, your exact lived experience, right? They don't have to have gone through every single thing you've been through, but that they have a deep understanding of all those things, that they understand that what you're bringing, you know, both the ways in which you know, the intersections at which you sit, you know, if that's, you know, being a woman, if that's being in a, you know, otherwise marginalized community, someone who is in an underrepresented community in their field, that they understand what challenges that you may face and that they are ready and willing to, you know, assist you. And knows they know you deeply, and that they know when to advocate for you, when not to. And what rooms to bring you in, either for a learning experience or for ones that they realize that your voice may need to be amplified. And, you know, having a deep understanding, a richer understanding of who you are, and even if they don't come from those communities, a sense of empathy is really critical, I think.
Thanks, CJ. Jazz, same question to you. What does a great workplace ally or advocate look like for you?
It's hard to follow that up because I love the way that Courtney talks about it, and she shares it in such a concise way. You could listen to her all day, but for me, I think the main thing is I really look for inclusivity is a way of life. It's not an afterthought. And I'm bilingual, and I think the best way I sort of try and explain it to people is when you learn a new language or you have a second language, you know you really understand it and you're very, you know, competent at it when you can almost think or dream in that second language, or in the language that you're learning. And I think that a great workplace ally or an advocate is somebody who is almost dreaming or thinking about inclusivity just as easily as they're breathing it and they're living it. And I think that that's just so important. Like the best allies and advocates that I've worked with in my career have been ones that truly, you know, embody and emulate that. And I think what I got from them, if I'm being selfish and putting praise on some of the lovely people I've worked with over the years, the best things that these advocates and allies did was they challenged me, right? When they challenge you to be brave in situations that you feel scared, or when you're feeling unsure or you're stuck, they're challenging you to be inventive. They're challenging you to compromise and be uncompromising in the places that are so important, to never give an inch. And I think that some of the best ones that are truly, like, you know, top of the top, creme de la creme, are the ones that really encourage lasting change, so that it's not just my presence that's ensuring inclusivity as a way of life, but knowing that I can entrust them to continue that on, so that the people who come after me will not have to encounter any of the challenges that I may have faced or those before me may have faced as well.
Thank you both so much. And Jazz, you're saying it was difficult to follow Courtney. It's difficult for me to follow both of you. But what I took away from that, I loved it's a way of life, and it's really important to understand your team's lived experiences, dimensions of diversity, and they will enable an ally and advocate to challenge you, to be brave, to be vulnerable, to help embolden you and advocate for you, whether you're in the room or not. It reminds me of an advocate that I had whose mantra was, you know, let your competence fuel your confidence. So I really like to remind myself of that and have a little sticky note on my desk. Thank you both so much. Jazz, if I can stick with you on to the next question. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself?
I mean, aside from the obvious of saying invest in Google stocks, I think the one that I heard that's really stuck with me is what got you here won't take you there. And the whole premise of it is you need to remember to evolve, right? And I think particularly if you're someone who is stepping into success, you know, as a new leader, as a seasoned leader, or just simply you're embarking on the start of your journey in your career. I think it's really important for you to absolutely try on other people's styles for size, like try on other people's leadership styles. You can, you know, look up all the various leadership styles that exist. There's a lot of information out there. But what's so important is you need to come back to finding your own. Your success needs to be sustainable and it needs to be authentic to you. And so it's so important for you to recognize that, you know, what efforts you took the last however long to get you to where you are today are probably not what you need going forward. You may need to adjust slightly. And chances are the
Mhm.
adjustment you need to make is the one that you are actualizing who you are and your style so that you can be sustainable, you can sustain this even when you get tired, even when the pressure is on. And in order to achieve that, you truly have to be really authentic to yourself. Um, and I think it's just so important to try and just ask. And I think that this is you know, a common topic that comes up, which is, you know, as basic as just ask for more time, ask for more money, ask for more help. What's the worst that's going to happen? Somebody says no. Well, you're not really in a different position. And I think it's so important, you know, for you to be able to recognize that. And again, there's something that was really important for me to recognize. What got me here was not asking for help, for example, and what got me there and you know, towards where I am today in my career was certainly the result of a lot of people leaning in and helping out, and trying on a lot of different styles to find one that's authentic to me.
Thanks, Jazz. CJ, same question. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself?
Aside from Jazz's very sound investment advice that I would probably also give a younger version of myself, I think the main thing would be, you know, just don't be afraid to step into your own power. I think, like for you know, my own personal journey into leadership, I spent a really long time running away from power. There was something that people saw in me that I didn't see in myself. There was something that I didn't realize that people were looking into. And to one of Jess's earlier points, you know, I think, you know, I hadn't really interrogated that. I hadn't asked other people sort of what were the things that they thought of me when they thought of me. And clearly one of those things was you're a leader. You know, everything from being selected as a jury for a person when I was selected for jury duty to, you know, being asked to lead, you know, sports teams, even though I'm not necessarily the greatest athlete and things of that nature. And what it took me a really long time to get around to was to just really sort of understand the natural leadership ability that I had and the deep responsibility that comes with that and being able to use that as a net good, a net positive in the world. And so I would tell my younger self to step into my own power, really, you know, harness this opportunity and the gifts that you have, and you know, grow them very early. So.
Thank you both. What I just to sum up, I heard, you know, what got you here won't take you there. Don't be afraid to step into your power. I'll add some others just from my perspective. Listen to your gut, trust your instincts. I love Jazz saying, you know, ask for fill in the blank. What's the worst, you know, that could happen? The answer is no, and you're no worse off than you were. You're in the same position. And even though we didn't call it out, this really speaks to me as a direct tie to one of our source code ideals: progress, simple perfection. Perfection is not a destination. Color inside the lines or color outside the lines. Just pick a color, right? It's as simple as 2048. An elastic that moves is an elastic that survives, thrives, and stands the test of time. Last question. Time has flown by, certainly. I'll start with you, CJ, and then wrap up with you, Jazz. CJ, how can we effectively promote ourselves and build a strong personal brand?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I'm probably not necessarily the best equipped to
Mhm.
handle this because, you know, I think I haven't necessarily been the self-promoter that I would probably like to see in the world. But I think the first thing that I would say is, you know, be authentic. I think, you know, Jazz touched on this earlier, like in terms of being authentic and being yourself. I think that would be one of the most effective ways that I think that you could build a strong personal brand because you can't sell a product that you believe in. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in your talent, and you don't believe in your abilities, then how can you then go and get others to believe you? You know, what you're selling to them in yourself isn't credible until you truly believe in yourself. And so that would probably be the first thing, is that make sure that you believe, you know, that you believe in yourself and that you're authentic, so that you believe what you're giving to people.
Jazz, same question. How can we effectively promote ourselves and build a strong personal brand?
I think it always comes back to genuine connection, right? And you know, to build on what Courtney said, you know, if you know yourself, you're going to have a much easier time building that genuine connection. I think it's so important to take pride and ownership in who you are and what your strengths are. And that means not minimizing your weaknesses and not saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm really bad at this, but actually saying, no, I'm really good at this, put me to work, right? And get me doing what is best for me. I think it's so important for individuals to recognize that they deserve to take up space and that there is a place for them, and that their strengths are needed. All of your strengths are needed. And being able to get out there, have that genuine connection, convey your point, convey who you are, and you'll land exactly in the spot that you want to be in the end, because you're being truthful to yourself and to those around you.
Thank you so much, both. I really loved, again, the connective thread between your responses. It's important to have genuine connections. You can't really have genuine connections if you're not authentic and not yourself. And you can't sell a product you don't believe in. If you don't believe in yourself, that product, you can't effectively sell it. I want to take a minute we have a couple of questions from chat. The first is there a wrong way to practice inclusivity? There are a lot of great examples and stories how to do it right, but sometimes it doesn't quite feel right, and I can't put my finger on it. I'll start and just give my perspective, and then love to hear yours, Jazz and CJ. And I'll go back to our own DEI tenet for respect the pause and pause and explain, where you take that moment in time to truly pause and explain, whether it is a situation that maybe makes you feel uncomfortable or something that you didn't understand, and you actually take that time to pause and ask and seek that information and explain why you do feel a certain way or not. I believe folks are coming back, so I think we may be out of time. So I'll just thank you both. I don't know about the rest of you all, but I want to work for both CJ and Jazz. So let me know if you're hiring either of you, please. And thank you both for your time. And thank you, Power to Fly, for hosting us today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Yes, thank you all for that fantastic tech talk. That was so helpful to hear from all of you. I love the speaking to authenticity, to just trying and putting yourself out there. What's the worst that could happen? You're just going to be where you are now. That's the worst case scenario, which I love. So be brave, be bold. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.